No flash.
Subscribe to Raze Chaos.
And welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and we're excited. We are so excited because Raze has yet another Creature Commandos figure. This one being Eric Frankenstein. I mean, obviously I couldn't help but use that same intro that I just used recently. I like to spread them out a little bit more when I can, but yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna do a Frankenstein character, I should use the Bride of Frankenstein as the subscribe option.
The bride. Her skin, shimmering, parched cerulean. Her irises like 2 dollops of a virgin's blood. Her lips carved from the cushiony intestines of a fetal pig.
But there was a little something Raze was kind of looking at when he got this. Went ahead and looked at the back and saw the 6 characters that are shown on the back, which is the Bride, Nina Mazursky, Dr. Phosphorus, Eric Frankenstein, the Weasel, and G.I. Robot. And G.I. Robot is the only character I don't have from this set so far. Not saying he's not looking for it, but it's becoming a little trickier. The more Raze looked at this, the more Raze started thinking about the fact that, you know, when the Creature Commandos animated series first came and was going to hit HBO, Raze was really excited because he was aware of that property. And one of the things that he was kind of looking forward to is seeing how they changed the characters. Of course, he didn't realize that they had brought the characters back in the New 52 kind of, or just before New 52 era thing, and had like started using them again. But Raze was unaware of this. And so when he saw this team, he was expecting, well, okay, well, I know what to expect. And then when I got there, it was like, no, I don't know what to expect, because not a single one of the people in that animated series is from the original lineup of Creature Commandos. So Raze just kind of was thinking like, okay, so as he was doing the videos, he was really kind of thinking, how can I incorporate the original team into some of these videos? Because, you know, Raze likes to talk about the history of these characters. And none of these characters were even related to the original characters that were in the Creature Commandos. And to be quite honest, none of them really freaking resembled any of them. But that ends now, because we've got Eric Frankenstein, and very obviously there was a character that was based around Frankenstein in the original Creature Commandos stories. So Raze is going to give you a little bit of history about him, and then we'll move on to, obviously, Eric Frankenstein, and talk briefly about how he is in the comics, but because kind of went over a lot of that with the Bride, and then kind of pretty much settle into how he's portrayed in the TV show, because even, you know, comic versus, you know, current comics versus animated series is very different. So we're going to go ahead and put this guy away, and we are going to talk about...
Were they spots? You're judging me. What? For not being able to grow hair on my face. As if that makes me some sort of baby man.
So in the original lineup of the Creature Commandos, obviously you had like a vampire, a werewolf. They came out in Weird War Stories, or Weird War Tales, one of those that came out in 1980. And they were basically designed to appear as the Universal Studios monsters. They had, you know, you had your Dracula character who was, you know, an actual vampire. You had your werewolf character that was actually a lycanthrope. You had a woman that was genetically altered to be more like Medusa. You had your normal human that led them, but then you had your Frankenstein character.
Best friends.
And that character was basically Private Elliot Taylor. And his backstory was that in the heat of battle, he had basically been blown up by a landmine. And so they basically decided to put him back together as a patchwork creature. And that was his name. The character's name was Patchwork. And, I mean, he was basically your patchwork creature. A patchwork creature is basically what the Universal Studios version of Frankenstein is. I mean, if you've read the novels, you know that that's not how he's created in the novel, in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. He's created in a much different way. And in this case, yes, they basically take pieces of other people and put them together. Almost so much so that good old Elliot Taylor became Patchwork because he was just, parts of different people. There have been several characters throughout history that have opted this way, created. Raze knows one that he followed for a little while, that a friend of his created, and that would be the Ragdoll from Curse of the Ragdoll, which if you have never read that one, you should look that up. But be aware that that was originally an adult comic book that the creator, Mike Wolfer, was actually given permission by the publisher. Basically, the publisher basically gave him the character when they went under, and he was able to, strip out the more graphic scenes and put more story in there instead of just graphic, But I was part of the contribution of helping him bring that character back to life. If you look up Curse of the Ragdoll by Mike Wolfer, that's very much the type of creature that is. But it's a little bit more complicated. There is no actual creator. Not going to go into that. Look it up, though. Honestly, you won't be disappointed. It's very interesting if that's your kind of thing. And honestly, it will lend even better if you're female. This could very well be a strong icon, feminine icon. If you you have to read it to understand. You have to read more of the description, and we're talking about something else. But Patchwork Creature is what he was. He was called Patchwork. Suddenly he's like 9 feet tall, and he basically resembles Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. And he is much stronger than the average person. He didn't need to sleep as much. They didn't go so far to give him like superpowers, because basically he could still get blown away by a freaking artillery shell. But small arms fire he could kind of shrug off a bit. But yeah, for a war story, which, the Creature Commandos were part of the war, World War II to be specific, they fought Nazis, and that's what they did. And, there wasn't much to him. The only other detail about him really was that during the procedure of creating him, they damaged his vocal cords, so he basically never spoke. He was just basically their strong powerhouse. When they decided to bring Eric Frankenstein, which Eric, yes, that's the name of the actual creation in, he's called Adam in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but later on becomes known as Eric, to differentiate him from the novelization. They do take a lot more from the book. That was actually created by was created much earlier in 1948. The Frankenstein that's in the DC universe actually created in like 1948, basically by Bob Kane of all people. See a theme there, but yeah, it was basically he was either created as the monster or just to basically be a further adventures of him. And of course, they didn't have to stand on business when they created this. They just said, "Hey, we can use Frankenstein in our stories. He's public domain," and that's exactly what they did. And so they kind of went on, and as time went on, especially when it came to the Seven Soldiers of Victory miniseries in the early 2000s, they really kind of warped him back into kind of pulled him back closer to the novelization. And he's joined the Justice League Dark. He's joined Agents of S.H.A.D E, the Creature Commandos. They've kind of pushed him into all of that. And he was a character that they just, since they were using the Bride in the Creature Commandos animated series, they just thought, hey, let's do a funny version of him. So yes, Eric Frankenstein is not really a lot alike as far as the comic book version that's in DC continuity. His backstory basically goes back to, much like in the actual novelization, the creature is wanting a companion and basically demanding that from Victor Frankenstein, his creator. And when Victor Frankenstein creates the Bride, she's terrified by his appearance.
She loves his handsome, stupid face.
And she basically leans more towards him. And in the novelization, the creature kills the Bride, prevents her from actually coming into being, and then goes after Victor Frankenstein's family and that kind of stuff. And in this case, since she's alive, she's moving around, the creature gets jealous and basically kills Victor Frankenstein over her.
Mind your own business!
And then they get separated. They keep coming back, and of course, in the story here, I mean, there is, in continuity, there is like talk about how maybe they dated at one point and had a child. In the animated series, it's basically he's been stalking her ever since.
Oh, awesome! Should I kill the professor?
And while he remains kind of simple-minded, I guess that would be attributed to the fact that he had an abnormal brain, while the Bride did not have an abnormal brain. He is very slow-witted, and he's got a very strange understanding about the world. And if it seems like almost cliche that he would be murderous...
Why are you killing anyone?
You just said you wanted me to be a hero.
Not like that.
You take into account that you have this simple-minded individual, and of course his thoughts are going to be a lot different about things like life and death. He's aware that he was dead at one point and was put back together and was now alive. He witnessed his own creator create another person like that. So to him, like, killing somebody is just easy. Not only does it come easy to him, but there is no real consequence because he knows people can come back.
I seem to have a way with this shotgun. If I see something to murder, I barely have to think it, and it is done.
So, he just thinks it's a mean thing to do, to get rid of people. It's kind of hard to take death seriously once you've seen people, like, come back from it. Or if you are a person that has come back from it, it's kind of hard to even be afraid of death after that.
Hold on, Flag. Hold on. Don't die, because I have so many questions before you do. Did the Bride ever mention me? Is that a yes in your estimation? Did she say my name fondly? Flag.
So yeah, basically throughout the series, he is basically becomes a longtime stalker of the bride, and they illustrate this very well in the Creature Commandos animated series.
The two of you, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet in Titanic. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, not many people have.
Gonna stick with that version of him because that's the version we have right here. Yeah, he's basically played for humor, and he plays to be kind of the wild card that appears during the story. It's kind of like, oh God, what's gonna happen? There is no spoiler that the fact that he's in the story means you know there's going to be a confrontation between Eric Frankenstein and the bride, much to her dismay. But it's pretty much, it's almost anticlimactic because she kind of takes care of it as soon as it arrives.
My love, the princess.
But hey, what do you want? It's a comedic series. Yeah, without I mean, Raze has kind of talked a little bit about the comic book version. He's talked about patchwork that, you know, came from the original Creature Commandos, and he's talked about the novelization a little bit and the version in the in the book versus the comic book. Without diving backwards into too much of that, I think, before Raze dives back into that, I think we should just go ahead and take this guy out and have a look at him.
Save it for hell, you stalker piece of shit.
And here we got him, and like I said, he's kind of a mixture between the Universal Studios version and, you know, the novelized version. Since the novelized version is a public domain thing, they really have to be specific on the differences there in order for them to actually copyright this version of him. So, yeah, obviously the appearance is much different. The face being from two different people, obviously. It's just a really cool look. He's obviously a powerhouse. He's obviously very, very violent and very hard to handle. And that's kind of what I love about older characters like this. Raze has met people who just flat out hate the 1966 Batman series. And I would imagine that those people would hate this version of Eric Frankenstein as well. What I love about a long-standing character like this, you can have a Batman or a Frankenstein's monster that is so serious and just absolutely terrifying, and just follow along that as much as you want. But at the same time, you can have a goofier version of it to appeal to kids that, you know, kids can fall in love with. And then you hook them, and that becomes something that they can grow and learn the darker side as they come to understand it. I think that's one of the things that I think isn't utilized quite as much as it should be. I mean, it kind of was when you really think about it, because, you know, Raze is old, and Raze was a child of the 80s, and one of the most popular characters in the 80s during the whole slasher craze was actually Freddy Krueger. And when you really think about it, Freddy Krueger was a pedophile. I mean, but to us, he was a child killer. We never really put together that he was probably doing something else to them kids. I mean, why else would you kill a kid unless you did something that you really couldn't come back from? Or unless you've already done something to a kid you couldn't come back from. But we never made that connection, or we rarely, if ever, made that connection throughout the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So yeah, as weird as it was, one of the characters that we used to watch on a regular basis was Freddy Krueger, who was not the kind of figure that children should really be following. And, you know, neither is the Frankenstein monster. And but this figure, I mean, you got to get back to this figure because Raze will go on a tangent, and you know he will. I love that he's got this long coat, the sleeveless long coat, which is what he wears in the show. He's got the built up pants, and the detail in him being stitched together all over, the different skin tones of like areas of his arms really show how he was patched together. And of course you've got the little nodes going on here that is where the electricity goes in to bring him to life. Don't quite understand the mohawk, like why that would be the case, but it's kind of determined in the story that he doesn't actually grow hair. I mean, the hair he's got is what he's going to have. But I really love this look. I think this was a great use of this legendary monster. And I mean, how can you really have a Creature Commandos without a Frankenstein monster-like character? So even though he's not actually a member of the Creature Commandos in the animated series, he is in the book, or in the comics. And he works with them in the comics, and you know, depending on what they do with the James Gunn verse, the direction they're going with it, and the world that they're building within that series, you never know what's going to end up. We might have a live action version of him, because the Creature Commandos is part of the Gunverse. It is tied to the movies. It is tied to the Peacemaker series. The upcoming Supergirl movie. That's all within the same universe going on. It is going to be a shared universe, and I have been enjoying it so far, and I hope to continue to enjoy it. But Raze has gone on way too much about this character that he can't decide on what he wants to talk about as far as which version of Frankenstein he wants to talk about. The movie, the Universal Studios, the comic book. Yeah, this is one of those things Raze could split off in any direction. But instead of doing that, Raze is going to ask you, which version is your favorite? Did you enjoy this version of him? And how would you prefer he changed, as far as even being closer to the comic book version? Let me know down in the comments below, because Raze is going to go ahead and get out of here now. I hope you have a great day, and never forget, the life is full of odd moments. You never know when you're going to be defined.